This is Dylan. We are doing a live session, real talk with Healing with Henna today. So if you're watching this on the back end, when I'm going to post this today, I can't wait for this conversation. And get some people in here to start talking to. Hello, hello. So today's conversation is going to be brand new. Haven't talked to Henna ever before, so I'm really excited for this. So it's gonna be one-on-one. We're just gonna go over whatever we want. So if you want to ask questions, ask questions. Please don't be afraid. I think the more you guys push out questions to us, it's gonna be even better. So hey Debbie, it's good to see you. Good to see you. We'll wait until Henna gets in here. How's everyone doing today? I haven't done a live session in a couple months now. So, Deb, I am not going to go live with everyone else. So, unfortunately, I should do a live session soon with everyone. Hey, Katie, and just go do a Q&A session. So, Henna's in here. We'll ask her to. Excited to meet her. This is great. So good, doing well today. Hey, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Can you hear me? Hear me
I
pretty
can hear
well?
you just fine. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, I
Okay,
got you.
cool. Cool. Well,
It
how's it
is.
going? How's your
It
morning?
is good. It has been
Yeah.
busy. It's been very busy. I already had a couple meetings today, but you know how it is. You know how it
I
goes.
definitely know how it is. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
How are
awesome.
you?
I am doing fantastic. Same. It's been a busy morning, so I'm excited to chat with you and kind of see where this live goes and what we both will learn, and hopefully we can teach others, whatever they're seeking, and you guys ask any
Absolutely.
questions you guys want, so I'm excited.
Yep. So, question for you,
Yes.
because I think I understood you. You've never done a live before on Instagram,
Not on Instagram. Yeah, I've done like
only on
TikTok
TikTok.
lives. Yeah,
Yeah.
and but Instagram, I don't think I've done a live yet. So no. So
I
I'm excited.
recommend I recommend you do it. I haven't done a lot of them, and honestly, the last 2 months have been absolute insanity for me. So I haven't been able to get on here and do enough.
Hmm.
But you obviously like this, you can pull followers and just talk to them and have
Yeah.
conversations with them. It's beautiful. I wish TikTok would do it, but
Right.
I don't have the access to TikTok Live as much as I used to.
Oh, okay. I got you. Why is that?
I got banned.
You got banned?
I did.
Why?
So this interesting story. So I was telling, I'm sure you followed some of my story as well.
Hmm.
I have obviously went through suicide. I've always obviously went through some difficult things, and I was telling people about how I overcame suicide myself. And TikTok obviously must have caught on to that, or somebody reported it, and I got banned instantly for dangerous behavior. So it's a permanent ban. I've sent messages to TikTok, nothing's happening. So I accepted it the day of, but
Yeah.
you know how it is. So
Yeah.
Instagram is kind of my go-to now. I have a second
Okay.
account for live streaming on TikTok, but
Okay,
I
gotcha.
don't
I
I don't get to
know. It's
that.
such a hard topic for sure,
Yep,
and I can understand why they may like want to do that, but it's also like this is something that, needs to be talked about. So,
right, right.
I do understand that struggle. But yeah, thank you for sharing that with me.
Of course, of course.
So,
So
yeah, go ahead.
I've got so most pretty much all my followers know about me.
Okay.
Um, Can you can you give them some backstory on tell us what brought you here today? Who
Yeah.
are you? And what are the things that brought you here?
Man, I don't know if we have enough time for this story, but
Start.
man, God, why am I here and who am I? That's a question I ask myself like all the time, who am I? And I think that what kind of got me into this place is that I would ask myself the question, what is my passion and what's my purpose in life? And I didn't know which one was supposed to come first. Was I supposed to know what my purpose is in life, or am I supposed to know what I'm passionate about? So growing up, I when I was younger, I lost my dad at a very young age. I was 9 years old. He passed away from a heart attack. It was very sudden, and that definitely threw my whole family like out of whack. Right. So our whole life basically changed. And I was the oldest out of three siblings. And so when that happened, my mom had to go back to school, so that she can get a different career. So she was able to provide for us. So when she was in that mode, I went into mom mode, where I was the one, really there with my siblings, taking care of them, raising them. And so I, went from being a bubbly, weird, loud kid, who was always getting in trouble, to like the responsible older sister. And I think that I focused so much of my younger life on others, on my family, and nobody made me do anything. It was just very instinctive. It was very natural for me. And, I love my family. I mean, my family is my everything to me. And so I think throughout the years, I didn't have the time or I never had the drive to figure out like, who am I or what do I like to do, So I loved being around children. I used to babysit a lot. So I used to always think like, oh, like I'll do child psychology. I'll, work with kids and, with families, because I'm so good at that dynamic. And so I went to school for child psychology. And while I was in school during that time, my family was going through a lot at that time. My mom had gotten sick, and there was just so much happening that I could not focus on school. I couldn't pay attention. I was slowly becoming, and there was a lot of like in between stuff, but this is just kind of like the quick notes of everything. But during that time, I had gone through like a really big weight loss by doing like this crazy crash diet. I was eating 500 calories a day. I was taking hormone shots. I was, any diet you can think of, I've done it. And I would lose a lot of weight very quickly, very fast. And I think after that, once I was in school and I was trying to take all these classes and I was trying to, get good grades, I would spend hours and hours and hours at a time trying to focus, trying to study, and I would fail every single exam, even if the easy ones. And I didn't know why. And I mean, obviously now I know it's because my mindset was so different. I was so, involved with how I saw myself and my perception of myself. And I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I felt. And I was always sick. And so after that, I dropped out of school. I didn't have a direction. So again, I asked myself, what is my purpose? What is my passion? And I couldn't figure it out. So I was like, I'm just taking a break from life. Like I have sacrificed my whole life for so many other people. I've never just focused on me. And so during that time is when I came across this trainer who changed my world. I mean, not just physically, but he mentally, he taught me so much just about myself and how to love yourself, how to respect yourself, how to take care of yourself, and in such a different mindset than what, most trainers would be doing, that it made me fall in love with the world of fitness, And so I was like, okay, this is what I'm good at. Like, I love learning this stuff. So even though like I had changed so much mentally with this trainer, after that, again, life happens again. Your body still remembers, the old past traumas that you've gone to, and you don't really believe that you can do more. But it kind of started that spark within me. So then after that, I gained weight again. I went back into my depression. I went back to school, flunked again, dropped out again. Like, it was just like this whole like crazy up and down.
When did you meet this
so I
trainer?
met him in, gosh, I think 2013 or 14.
Okay.
Or even, yeah, I think 2013, something like that. And actually I met him because I wasn't going to school and I was working, and I worked at a gym, go figure. And I've always been in like the gym world. It's really funny how things have turned out the way they have. But so it was like 3 a.m. and I couldn't sleep. And it had been like months of me just doing that, where I would be up all night, sleeping all day, eating all night, like just in that depression bubble, right?
Yep.
And I remember thinking like, you know what, I need to get a trainer, or I need to figure out my life, because I know one of the biggest things in my life that's stopping me is my weight. And I always used to tell myself that my life will start when I lose weight. My life will start when this happens for me. And so during that time, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to Google. So I literally Googled trainers near me or gyms near me. And his thing popped up, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to send him a message. So I sent him a message, and I was like, hey, my name is Henna, and you know, like I'm overweight, and this is my story, and like I really want to lose weight. And it was just like, I don't even remember what I wrote. And I sent it and I ignored it. Then I fell asleep. Literally 6:30 in the morning, crack butt of dawn, I'm getting a call from someone. I'm like, who is this? So I ignore it. I get a voicemail, and it's the trainer, and he's like, hey, how are you? Like, he's just so like in your face, like he's screaming on the voicemail about how excited he is to meet me, and he like, come on in, and like just it was intense. And I was like, who is this fool? Like, dang, does he not have any clients that he's trying so hard to get me to come train with him? Like, he doesn't know me. I don't know him. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to trust faith, and I'm going to see like what happens. And I met him. And one of the first things he asked me, he's like, you know, do you trust me? And I looked at him. I was like, absolutely not. I don't trust you. I don't know you. You know, why would you even ask me that question? So long story short, that's just kind of how, you know, my journey into fitness and understanding what's the difference between my passion and my purpose. So after that, you know, a lot of ups and downs, gained weight again, you know, it was all this craziness. When I actually started to understand that my passion is for me, that whatever I'm passionate about, that is for me. My purpose, however, is for others. So I knew I had to figure out what my passion was for myself first.
Beautiful.
And it was so hard for me to put myself first because I was
Yeah.
so used to putting everyone else first. Like, you need me,
Yeah.
let me go help you. You need me, let me drop everything that I'm doing and
Yeah.
let me rescue you. And I had to call myself out, and I had to tell myself that, you know what? What about me? If I
Yeah.
want to figure out what my purpose is, I have to figure out my passion. And so at that time, I had gone through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of like spiritual changes, you know, starting to learn about law of attraction, manifestation, just like the basics of it all, and starting to, you know, rewire my mind, rewire my mindset of everything. And that's when I just, I just remember I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get educated, and I'm going to become a personal trainer. That was like my thought process. And so I
Mm-hmm.
walked into campus, and all my peers, it was a small group of us, all my peers are coming from the fitness world. They've already been, you know, athletic trainers, or they're already like fitness models. And that's where I walked in, you know, at 311 pounds. And I was like, hi, my name is Henna, and I want to do what you do. And I remember like every second I was just so nauseated, and I was nauseous, and
Yeah.
I was like, why am I here? Questioning myself constantly. But then again, I was like, you're here because there's a purpose, there's a reason. You're finding your passion so that you find your purpose. And I remember telling myself that I am going to train myself to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think it just blew up from there. So then after graduation, that's when I really started losing weight. I lost 130 pounds. I'm still in my weight loss phase. I'm doing like recomposition. There's always so much that I'm doing and I'm growing in. But
Mm-hmm.
because of like all the steps I've kind of gone through, I just basically realized that, you know, I feel like I've discovered this special recipe, the secret recipe for this big pot of gumbo. And there's this missing ingredient that everybody is missing. And I feel like I figured it out. Now, I can't like word for word figure it out or like state it, but what I know is no matter what you want in life, whatever you want to achieve, whether it's fitness, whether it's a career, whether it's a relationship, any aspect of your life you want to achieve, it all starts with the mind. You have to go back to the basics. And so one of my favorite quotes that I've been just holding on to is, you know, life is about unbecoming instead of becoming. Because in our entire life, we're always told you need to become this, you need to become this. And I decided that no, screw that. I'm not going to become anything that other people have told me. I'm going to unbecome everything and then figure out what my passion is and what my purpose is. So that's just like a little quick spiel about me. But yeah.
I love it. I love it. I just love, so what really drew me to you is because I think you followed me first, and I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
So I looked into your profile, I went straight to your Instagram because I like to, like, I think we followed each other on TikTok first, and
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like,
It was TikTok.
awesome, right? I was just growing, so I had so many people following me at that point, and I was just like, awesome. So I like to go to people's Instagrams because I think it's a little bit more depth. And I went to your Instagram, and the first thing that I saw was the quote that you had on there. The weight of your mind is heavier than the weight of your body.
Oh,
And
yes.
I
Okay.
read that, and I was like, that is awesome. Like, that is so powerful. And that, like, more or less like me reading that helped me understand who you were. And I was just like, I need to, I need
We
to,
need to
I need,
connect. Yeah.
I know.
Well, thank you. I mean,
Of
likewise, I
course.
think I'm not sure exactly what the video was that I watched, but I remember watching something about like your perception, and you were talking about, you know, I saved the video, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch that video again. But I remember watching your stuff, and I was like, wow, like he gets it, like his vibe, his energy, because there's so many people on TikTok, right? And there's
Yep.
a lot of life coaches and different people that talk about different things, and you know, your page definitely stood out because it was so real, it was so authentic, and you know, I could just feel that energy. And I'm such a big believer on everything happens for a reason. There are no mistakes. You know,
Yep.
we create everything that comes towards us. But I'm so happy that you brought up that quote, because so please help me. And anyone out there who's listening to this, please help me find this quote, because I honestly do not know if I have read this somewhere and it's in my mind, or I came up with it. I honestly don't remember, because it came up at a point when
Yeah.
I was talking to a client, and we're talking about like, why is it that our perception of ourselves is different? You know, someone who is not overweight but sees themselves overweight, and why does that, you know, burden them so much? And I remember this phrase came up, and I kept Googling it, and I'm trying to find it, and I don't know if I've made it up or not, and I do not want to take credit for it, but it's just
Right.
it's one of those things that like you can apply it to anything. Like it's true. The weight of your
Yep.
mind is heavier than the weight of your body, because your body is your physical form. Your mind is your soul, your spirit, and our souls and our spirits are what guide us. So,
Yep.
are you
I'm trying
Googling
to
the quote right
I
now?
am Googling because I want to
I
know.
love it. I love it. No, please, like I need, because I don't want to take credit for something that I didn't come up with, but if I have, like, dang, I'm good, you know, like I
Yeah,
want
that's beautiful.
to know.
I can't find anything for some reason. Bing's not working. Google's not working.
But
No, it's the we see things very similarly, and I've looked. I know I've looked through your content before, and I've always been a product of what I've faced, right? And I try and help people understand that the bad things and the good things are simply subjective, right? We look at the things that have happened to us, and we add a connotation to it that often doesn't need to be added. You know, the idea of tragedy and loss are obviously big in my mind, because one, I lost my father in a, you know, very similar age, 6 years old, to suicide. And then I obviously almost took my own life at 25. So the idea that tragedy and misfortune and suffering, those are all inevitabilities in life. And we tend to add this idea that they are bad. And of course, they're tragic and they're difficult, but in the reality of life is that they are inevitable. They are necessary. If we all lived forever, then our planet wouldn't sustain us. And and I've had to face that question, right? I've had to face the question of what's my passion and what's my purpose. But what always weighed heaviest on me is why. Why did my father choose to end his life when he had a family, when he had a son that literally told him to stay? You know, those are the questions that I've had to face a little bit earlier on than most people, and that's why I think people are very drawn to me. Is that I'm asking questions of them that no one has ever really brought up to the limelight of their life. And I think it's very profound that I'm doing what I'm doing, because I look at what I think about and talk about as normal, and then people tell me that nobody else has ever talked to these statements and these questions and these responses that I give, that nobody's ever told them that, you know, they've never talked about loss, they've never talked about tragedies. And I understand that in my own way. I have the empathy to understand that, like, I was silent about my father's death for really 19 years. and I understand the idea of silence and the deafening silence, realistically. And the thing that always hits me the most is that, there are people out there that are simply unwilling to speak about the very things that are abundantly normal in life, right?
Do you think it's an unwillingness that
I,
they are
I do.
unwilling to talk about it? Where
I, th-
where would that
I,
stem
th-
from?
I think it's a learned unwillingness more often than not. It's not a, it's not a, it's not a normal thing. I don't think it's a normal thing to be unwilling to express yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in some situations, right? There's like I'm in such a different realm, right? Like I'm in so many different realms of life, right? I'm in the infantry, in the military,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I have to do a job that is literally violent. I have to do a job that is literally like it's either they die or I die, right? I'm on the front lines. That's what I do. Um, as well as being on the, like, I'm literally a life coach, right? The completely opposing spectrum of life and death, right? Like what I do civilian side is I deal with life and I provide life. And on the military side, I provide death, right? Like, so I'm in such a very contrasting, and this is something that I have not talked about enough, but I'm in a very contrasting style, or I guess I shouldn't say style, but very contrasting jobs on two different worlds. Um, I forget where I was going with that, but the idea of life itself is, I know where I'm going with that. Infantry wise, like military wise, I'm sorry, I ramble sometimes.
No, it's
Um,
same.
infantry wise, right? When I'm on the battlefield, we can't express ourselves, right? We can't have discussions in a moment where speed is what kills. So there's, I understand, like, the veteran side of me understands fully like why we cannot have conversations, because in the heat of battle, we cannot allow it, right? But then on the life coach side of my life, right, we must have conversations. It is because the weight of what we carry is what often destroys us. And if we're not willing to express that, like, it often destroys us. And that's just unnecessary. But that's, again, that goes back to, that's learned, right?
It's
The
fun.
parents, the
Mm-hmm.
parents, the friends, the family, the teachers, they tell you, right? The relationships, they tell you whether you can express yourself or not. And it's very simple, right? It's so often learned, and it doesn't need to be retained, is what the reality is.
But see, I kind of want to challenge you there, because I feel like if people don't learn that, or if you, because at some point in your life you've learned that, right? Until you
Mm-hmm.
started talking about it, because you were able to identify with it and to know that it needs to come out and talked about. But
Yep.
at some point, you were learning that behavior for this reason, so you can do what you do to find
Yes.
your passion and your purpose. So
Yep.
I mean, I know that it is that unnecessary lesson, but that's the point of it, is that everything that we do go through are those lessons, and only certain people like you and me who
Right.
can break that bridge that gaps us, or that bridge that connects us to the two sides of
Yep.
understanding it. And I feel like you've, very clearly identified what that is, and you're able, I mean, that was just breathtaking how you just described, your two aspects of your life of, dealing with death, and you're doing that in the service of your country and to protect all of us. And so thank you so much for your service, first of all. I mean, that is just unspeakable. And it's the sacrifices that, all the military and everyone that is in, the government, all of that, all the sacrifices that you guys make is amazing. And so I thank you from, all of us. But for you to be able to just, identify the death, and then to identify the life, and how, you work in both realms of it, is just, I mean, phenomenal. And that's a lot to carry. That's a, I know it's not a burden, but I also can say that it is a lot of weight to carry.
It is.
That, I mean, I don't know if I could, me personally, be in such two different worlds like that. So
It was, and I felt, I want to go back to
Yeah.
your question at some point, but I'll address this. Like, I felt that the hardest, I think, after my first deployment, because I was a sociology major before I went to Afghanistan the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and I came back, and obviously my first deployment was my hardest. I saw some very difficult things, some very tragic things that, you know, I wish it didn't have to happen. But they, in some ways, they are often the only thing that can be done. But that's not for us to decide, really. Things just happen. And I saw those things, and I came home, and then I tore my ACL like 3 days after I got back from Afghanistan. I was put in a place where I had nothing but time to think. And I was sent to Fort Knox, which was like a medical detachment where you recover from injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And I had surgery, and I was there for about 7 to 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the darkest time of my life. Absolutely the darkest time of my life. I was up for 23 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
thinking, unable to really move or go anywhere or do much because I was obviously in a straight leg brace for most of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, when you think on that level, right, and then you come back to society after thinking on that depth of level, and that's, you know, I guess phase of darkness within your life, you come back in a jaded sense of you're jaded to society. You're jaded to people that tell you that waking up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock is early for them when you don't sleep, right? And the you don't sleep because of what you saw in another country of people dying and losing their life to different things. And the the realm of life and death really became very clear to me in that time. And I had to learn myself a lot of empathy for the people that just didn't understand what it was like. And I think the person that you see here is realistically someone that has historically turned to empathy rather than turned to anger. And I think that was taught very early on with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what, you know, I'm beginning to learn that maybe that is what is my true strength. That some people are not going to be able to replicate. Because I'm sure as a life coach, you're looking for pieces of you that are replicable in other people to try and help them understand. And I think in some ways the empathy that I have is just built through the vastness of experiences that I've had to face because I'm in such different worlds
Mm-hmm.
of trying to save people, but also understanding that I have to kill people if the job requires me, which is profound
It's,
in
I
its
mean,
own
I can't
way,
even put words to it. How would you
right?
even describe something like that? It's just,
I'm
it's,
doing my best,
I mean, you're doing
right?
phenomenal. And it's just, again, thank you for that sacrifice. And, I think that you're in such a unique place in your life to be, I'm sure you're very humbled by this as well, is that you are able
Hmm.
to see both sides. And I think
Yeah,
that's what makes you such a successful life coach. And I'm sure all of your clients or the people that follow you and learn from you can connect with that because you are genuinely able to give a completely different perspective on what is life and how to
yes,
value life because of how on the other end you've had to experience what death looks like.
right.
And I
It's
think that part of you is, even though for, being in the army and for what you're required to do, and obviously you're doing that for the, the safety of the country. So obviously that's a good thing, but it's also I'm sure internally it's like, it pulls you into different parts. But
right.
I feel that, for sure, every person that you touch and every person that, can have that aha moment with you, that synchronicity, it's like you're gaining so much more life than death.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Someday the goal is to create a world that doesn't have to turn to violence because, you know, and I was having a conversation with actually one of my very closest clients to me this morning about violence in general, And I see violence as the universal language, more or less, is that, when you do something violent, you don't have to use words to explain it. People understand it. But I think what we are seeing right now, and I think this is going to be one of the topics of my second book, because I'm forward thinking like that.
I love it. I love it.
Is the idea that social media is going to transform, and it already is transforming the way we see violence. It's transforming the way we manage the world, and it's going to, yes, right now it might be inspiring some violence in some way, but in the long run, I think it is changing the perception of things like domestic violence, sex trafficking. It's changing the way we see war. It's changing the
In
way.
what way do you think it's changing?
Uh, okay, the ways that I see is that, one, in 1990 or 1990 or 1980 or 1970, domestic violence was excusable. It was acceptable, right? What about 2020? It's not. Where did that come from? Social media, right? 2007, domestic violence was not on the radar of Facebook. But then look at 2020 and the TikTok platform, right? And see what comes up on your For You page when you are a domestic violence survivor, right? And that's just domestic violence. That's not including like sex trafficking,
Yeah.
right? Like that's, and the ability to literally pull up your phone and record something, right? We look at Syria and the Syria conflict and how it transformed war, right? We are stepping into an age of literally the person on the ground recording is exposing the reality of the situation,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I think in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the only thing that is going to remain in terms of violence is going to be by design, right? The nations that hold censorship, the people or the groups that hold censorship to be a necessity, violence will persist. But when people, right, like if I'm a female and I'm in a relationship with a domestic violence abuser, right, like a very bad one, like in 20 years, I'm going to be able to make a post and change my life because of that, right? Or make a video and someone's going to be able to help me, right? Like things are changing in ways that they never were before, right? I
Wow.
think
Yeah.
I think violence is going to, like, violence was hidden from our eyes 30 years ago, unless it was in the 24-hour news. Now it is not, right? We
You know, I want
see,
I want to elaborate on that. I feel like it's not even just violence. I feel like in all aspects, on
right,
all things that human beings suffer with and in, is now very, on social media. And like I feel like
exactly,
it's such a prime example of that because I spent so much of my life hiding and not wanting anyone to see me. And if anything had to do with social media, wanting to hide my body and only showing face pictures because I knew that that was going to be, not accepted. And in
yep,
reality, I didn't accept it within myself. It wasn't
right,
the perception of others. It was my own perception of who I was. It was just easy to focus it on other people. And I
right,
think that, it's so funny when Instagram first started and it was getting popular. Instagram is all about like how pretty you look and how like everything has filters and it's supposed to be like all on point, right? And don't get me wrong, I like to get ready. I like to look good, right? But again, it's so surface level. There's so much
right,
deeper inside of us. And that is what makes us beautiful or ugly, is what is inside of who we are. I'm such a
yep,
big believer in that. And I think that when TikTok happened, the reason why I started posting on TikTok, I mean, I'm still like so shocked at how my TikTok has gone to where it's gone to. Like, I mean, I'm one of the most like normal Joe Schmoes out there that it just,
don't be surprised,
I'm still shocked that, it is what it is at this point. But I remember being so connected to TikTok because of how real people were. I mean,
Hmm.
showing, you know, the bodies and the before and afters and the self-help and the hurt, the depression, talking about it. It is true. Like, we are coming into this day and age where social media is turning into this, you know, this way for us as human beings to connect at a different level, at a different energy wavelength. And I think that that is freaking amazing. And thank you for bringing that up, because I don't think I had really understood that concept until just now.
I think, and to go even further, it's the idea of integrity. It's knowing what's right and wrong, and good people are connecting to good people, which
Mm-hmm.
is why you are successful, right? It's why you and I are both successful on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like this is this is just the beginning of a movement of people understanding what is actually what feels right,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not being hurt is what feels right, and what people are knowing is right, right? Like it's
Can I ask
that,
you a question? So you said it's about not being hurt or feeling
right.
hurt. Where,
So
what do you
and
mean?
let me
Yeah.
preface that,
Yes.
because I think that comes from most of what I do, right? And a lot of the people that I work with, right, come from abusive relationships. So, and I'm not saying that you're never going to be hurt. It's the people that intentionally hurt people
Mm-hmm.
should not, right? It's having an abusive father. Like I had an abusive boyfriend. My mom's boyfriend was abusive to me, right? That man did the wrong thing, but it felt like he told me it was the right thing because it was discipline, right? It children are told every day that they are wrong and they are beaten for it, right? And that is not right. And at the end of the day, like the first time you get beaten, you're like, why? Right? Like why? If you're questioning why, it's probably wrong, right? The very fact that a man is willing to walk into a child's life and beat them for not doing the right thing rather than explaining how to do the right thing is extremely simple to me, is wrong, right? And that's where that comes from, is that this idea that people shouldn't hurt people is simply, it's right to me. That's integrity to me, right? If you have to hide what you're doing to your children, you're probably doing the wrong thing, right? Like I would gladly welcome, like without if it was up to me, right? I would allow a video camera to follow me around as a father every day, because I treat my son with respect. What I say to him is respectful, right? I treat him as a human being and I do not hurt him, right? I tell him things that some people don't agree with. Like I talk to him about my father and what he did. I haven't talked to him about what I've done, right? Because I don't think he's ready for that, but I will someday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like the idea is that someday I think someday that we are all going to be live streaming our lives. Someday. I think a majority of us are probably going to be live streaming our lives at some point. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can't live stream your life right now because you think you're doing the wrong thing, not about judgment, but if you think you're doing the wrong thing, you might have a problem with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? If it's because you don't want to be judged for like for you, like
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to ask you this, but like
Yeah.
walking into a physical fitness oriented major at 311 pounds, I can't imagine the judgment you would have, that you would have compressed on your heart walking into that. I'm like I'm so I have so much respect for what you did. Like
Thank
that
you.
is so powerful. Like
I
that's
just,
and that's
yeah,
go
sorry.
for it.
No, well, I was just gonna say, I mean, I still don't know why I did what I did and why I got through it. Like, how did I get through it? You know, you forget
Right.
the things that you go through and the things that you achieve. And I think that, you know, when you are, and I'm sure you can identify with this, when you are in a state of mind of just emptiness,
Yeah.
everything internally, everything, you know, when you feel like your skin isn't skin, it's this like suffocating death trap, you
Yeah.
know. I always, one of my spirit animals is a bird. I love birds, and I love birds because the concept of a bird can, you know, at any point in time, at any given, you know, place, can get up and fly somewhere. And I remember sitting down and seeing, like, the flock of birds that kind of just like go together, and they fly, and there's like a sunset, and it's just, you know, that's one of my signs too. Like, I look for a lot of signs in my life. When it pops up, it means something to me. And so when I saw like birds just, you know, picking up and just flying, I felt so envious, and so like I wasn't enough for myself, or other people didn't see me enough that I could spread my wings and fly. I genuinely felt like my wings were clipped for so long. And when you stay in that mindset, and it's for multiple reasons, it's not even just the weight. What I really, so a lot of people get so connected with me, especially through TikTok, because they see the physical transformation, right? You see someone who's overweight, and you see them lose a bunch of weight, and oh my God, how did you do it? What's the magical drug? What's the magical cure for it? Like, what is it, right? And every time my clients meet me, they're expecting a workout routine, nutrition, like boom, boom, boom. Like, they want it all, as if I have something written up. I have nothing written up. I have education for it, and I know what you're supposed to do. And I know, I mean, I have all the clinical stuff, but I don't have just one like list of things that I can just mass produce and give to everyone. Because guess what? It's not going to work. You're going to put a lot of money into it. You're going to spend thousands of dollars on it, which, hey, that's great for me, right? But no, because I wouldn't be an authentic, true coach if I didn't want to set every single client up for success. And the only way you can set someone up for success is first set yourself up for success, right? But then also to be able to teach a message. And my message is that my true transformation is not the weight loss. My body, my physical form that is only here temporary, is not my true transformation. My true transformation is rewiring my mindset, is this new way of thinking, is recreating these neuron connections within my mind. And to literally, I mean, I remember days where the first thing I would say to myself, so example of me walking into campus at 311 pounds, seeing all of them are younger than me. I went back to school at a lot older age, right? And so I have all these like 19, 20, 21-year-olds running around, you know, who are just like, yeah, I'm a trainer, and now we want to, you know, do the clinical side of things. And I'm just like, yeah, me too. Like, I think, you know, like, and you know, thankfully, I never, ever had anything said to me or done to me, or no one ever made me feel unaccepted in being there. The only person that made me feel anything was within myself. And I was going to read you this quote that I heard yesterday, and it was, do you know Jay Shetty? He's a coach. So he talks about a quote that he had from someone else. I think it was from some book, and I swear to God, if I don't see it written down here in like 2 seconds, let's see the mindset. I'm gonna find it. But okay, so give me 2 seconds. It's like so good, and I know if I try to say it on my own, it's gonna be so terrible.
So just an FYI, I think Instagram lives usually end around 45, and we're at 43:30.
Are they 3 minutes? Okay, we're gonna save that quote for some other time then. But it's definitely about like how we perceive ourselves and how we think others perceive us. But in reality, is how we think others perceive us is how we perceive ourselves. So just changing that thought process. But yeah.
Save that for next time, because I think we need to have another conversation.
I think we need to definitely do this way more. There's so much more. Yeah. But.
So I think next time you should host, and then we'll jump on yours. If you ever want to talk about how to do that, I think it's pretty easy to set up. But I can help you out.
Awesome. Dylan, thank you so much for everything and sharing your story with not only me, but like everyone else. And I mean, I know that, you know, every time anyone hears you, they're changing significantly. So
likewise
for that. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we got about 30 seconds. I just want to say thank you for coming on. I know you were probably like, sure, let's see what happens. But I think this is going to be a persistent relationship. We need to have more conversations about this. You're
100%.
awesome. I just
Thank
want
you.
to put that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you for all those who watched, and we'll talk soon. How about that?
Awesome. Yes. Thank you everyone for listening, and DM us for if you have any particular questions, and I'll be happy to talk about anything. So thank you guys. And thank
Absolutely.
you, Dylan, for having me.
Of course.
Have a great, fantastic day.
See ya.
Bye.